Think of the global economy as an infinitely complex programmed system. From a distance, it runs smoothly, but the surface-level data often completely obscures the reality of the people living inside it. The most common metric we use to judge the health of this system is gross domestic product, or GDP, the total financial value of all the goods and services a country produces. But raw output can be a highly deceptive metric. If a government spends billions on military hardware, the GDP skyrockets. The economy looks thriving on paper, but that extra output does absolutely nothing to improve the daily living standards of the actual population. Then there is a mathematical glitch in how we calculate the average. A country might boast a massive GDP per person, but if one small group hoards the vast majority of that output, the average is artificially skewed upward. A high total system output means very little to the average person if the distribution of that output is broken. To get an accurate read on an economy, economists use a deeper diagnostic tool, the Human Development Index, or HDI. Instead of just tracking financial output, the HDI reads three distinct data streams: healthcare, measured by life expectancy, education, measured by years of schooling, and a baseline level of income. If you are taking an economics exam, remember this explicit distinction. Real GDP per head only measures material output, adjusted for inflation and population size. The HDI is a composite measure of overall human well-being. By tracking health and knowledge alongside wealth, we can accurately diagnose how well an economy is actually serving its people. If we zoom out to the macro level, we see massive disparities between national economies. Some countries are incredibly wealthy, while others remain stuck in an underdevelopment trap. The core rule governing these differences is productivity. Nations that can generate a higher output per worker hour naturally produce higher average incomes for their citizens. This photograph shows agricultural workers harvesting crops entirely by hand. When an economy relies heavily on this primary sector, extracting raw materials without advanced capital equipment, it gets locked into a cycle of low-value production. Contrast that with wealthy nations built on the tertiary sector, where highly skilled workers are providing high-value services. Then there is the demographic hurdle. Countries with rapid population growth often develop a high dependency ratio. This means the working population is small compared to the vast number of children and elderly they have to support, spreading the nation's total wealth incredibly thin. A country's position in the global economy is dictated by these foundational variables: its labor productivity, its industrial sectors, and its demographics. But even inside highly productive, wealthy nations, extreme poverty still exists. To understand why, we have to separate income, the money a person actively earns from their labor, from wealth, which is the accumulated stock of assets that hold financial value. Wealth is self-replicating. Assets like property, government bonds, and shares generate their own passive income. Over time, this rapidly widens the financial gap between those who own assets and those who only have their labor to sell. Economists use the Lorenz curve to measure wealth concentration. The horizontal axis plots cumulative population percentage. The vertical plots cumulative income percentage. The straight blue line represents perfect equality. The red curve shows actual distribution. The further it sags, the more severe the wealth concentration. Without outside intervention, the natural rules of a free market will relentlessly concentrate wealth into the hands of a few dominant players. This is where governments step in. As system administrators, a key macroeconomic objective is to correct these imbalances and actively redistribute that concentrated wealth. Their primary tools are taxes. A progressive direct tax takes a larger percentage of money from high earners. Conversely, a regressive indirect tax, like a flat tax on food or fuel, disproportionately hurts low-income earners, taking up a much larger share of their limited budget. By utilizing progressive taxes, governments can collect revenue and deploy it as transfer payments, like state unemployment benefits, or as subsidies. This boosts the aggregate demand of lower-income households, giving them the means to actually participate in the economy. Note the economic difference between equity and equality. Equality means everyone receives the exact same amount of money. Equity is about fairness, providing resources based on an individual's specific needs, which often requires an unequal distribution. Taxation and welfare policies are highly engineered system patches necessary to keep the entire economic structure stable and operational for everyone. To permanently break the poverty cycle, governments provide merit goods, specifically free state education and healthcare. Think of this as upgrading the capabilities of the citizens themselves. By improving a worker's physical health and giving them better skills and qualifications, you directly increase their individual productivity and make their labor highly demanded in the market. Providing equitable access to these merit goods bypasses the rigid barriers of wealth concentration, enabling upward economic mobility. The economy is a constructed system. By understanding the variables of productivity, demographics, and policy, a society holds the power to rewrite its own code and raise the standard of living for everyone.